Nobody move!
Now, this movie right here is a definition of a hood classic. When I say I love this movie, I love this movie. I still remember seeing it for the first time and going through a wave of emotions from excitement to joy to fear and then sadness. Oh, and let's not forget how Queen Latifah bodied this role. Cleo was that chick, okay? But while watching this movie, I noticed a few things, and of course, you know we're going to talk about it, so let's get into it. So the movie opens up at a bank. We meet one of the main characters, Frankie, who works there. While helping out one of the customers, she spots an associate and instantly knows something's about to go down.
Hey, Darnell, I didn't know you had an account here. As a matter of fact, I never even saw you out of the project.
Shut the fuck up.
The absolute nerve of this guy to come to her job like he knows her and pull this mess just proves that he don't give a damn about her. And in that moment, I wouldn't have gave a damn about him and pressed that button. But anyway, I guess he got tired of pleading with Frankie and decided to set it off officially. And yes, this guy makes an appearance. Like I said, ain't never up to no good. But yeah, these guys cause chaos. They kill this innocent lady, shoot up the whole bank. Child, this got to be the messiest bank robbery ever. And Darnell ends up getting shot and his boys leave him. So essentially, he never was able to receive the fruits of his fuckery. A mess. We then go back to Frankie after the robbery. The cops are berating her about how she knew Darnell and why she didn't press the button. She tries to explain, but really they've already made up their minds and think that she was in cahoots with Darnell and his boys. And her boss tells her she's fired. As she's pleading for her job, he says this shit.
What happens the next time one of your friends robs the bank? How do we know you're not in collusion?
Let me say that Vivica acted down in this scene. I found myself getting irritated at her so-called boss and at the fact that they completely ignored how she too almost lost her life and saw someone get killed in front of her. All of that was completely ignored.
I nearly got blown away in your tired-ass fucking bank!
Calm down.
You couldn't even wait!
Even after saying all of that, they still considered her a suspect.
She's involved. I want everything you have on her.
We then go to a lit party where we meet our other main characters, Stoney, Cleo, and Titi. It's a 70s themed graduation party that Stoney is throwing for her brother who just graduated from high school. And clearly Cleo didn't follow no directions.
You're the only one in the neighborhood to give a 70s graduation party.
Anyway.
They take a minute to observe Stoney's brother messing up his groove with this girl. It's after Cleo mentions that he will be making money after college that his vibe changes and Stoney notices. They go inside to talk, and it's then that he lets Stoney know that he is not going to college because he didn't get a scholarship. Stoney, while disappointed, tells her brother that she will figure out a way to pay for his tuition. We then go to Luther and his antics. The girls work for a cleaning service, and Luther is their boss, and 99% of the time, he's with the ish. But tonight, he's got his briefs all in a bunch because one of the girls didn't recycle and place everything in one bin. That girl being TT. And when he tells her that he will be docking her pay, Cleo tries to take up for her. And of course, Luther immediately sets her straight.
What who you supposed to be? Goddamn mighty morphin' fucking Power Ranger?
TT then reminds Luther that he agreed to pay her under the table and that if she gets taxes taken out of her check, she won't have enough to pay for her babysitter. But Luther is not trying to hear none of that.
There are three peoples I don't mess with. The I, the R, and the S. Look, if you don't like working for Luther's janitorial, just take your broke ass home.
See, Luther was a real asshole. Anyway, the girls then discuss Frankie and what happened at the bank. We then go to the police precinct where the detectives are looking at the camera footage from the bank robbery. They notice a design on one of the robbers' heads, and then here goes this guy.
What's your nickname? S.O. perhaps?
Perhaps.
S.O. perhaps?
We go back to the girls, and they're hanging out in their neighborhood. This guy, who also happens to be the director of this movie, Gary Gray, pulls up to taunt Cleo about her whip.
Cleo, when you gonna fix this raggedy shit? Up.
Cleo then tells the girls how Lorenz and his boys got away with 20 grand. 20 grand seemed like so much back then. Child, 20 grand is like $2,000 now. But anyway, Cleo suggests that they need to rob a bank, and you can tell Frankie is really considering it, being that at this point she has nothing to lose and is still bitter about losing her job.
We ain't gonna rob no bank. Let's just go in there and blow it the fuck up. Can you believe after working at that damn bank for 2 years, I can't even get a recommendation for another job?
Then Cleo's girlfriend pulls up, and baby, I don't think she had one line in this whole movie. Just vibes and fashions, child. Vibes and fashions. And then Nasty Nate pulls up. That's what we calling him. Stoney is not happy to see him at all. I mean, who would be? But yeah, they go off to talk. He's telling her about how much money she can make as a car salesman, and she tells him that before she can work for him, she will need an advance. Nasty Nate then tells her that that's cool and all, but he gonna need something in return, and you already know what that something is. And Stoney is reluctantly considering it.
So when do I get my advance?
Oh, I don't know. Tomorrow, maybe the day after.
Immediately no. Baby, that's what FAFSA is for. Take some loans out, baby. Go to the community college, because I can't. But Stoney pushes him on the timeline, and of course, Nasty Nate gets a little irked.
Look, Nate, before I do this, I want my check.
Hey, whoa, look. You not getting no check from me until I'm done, you understand?
His gross ass just, oof. And then, as Stoney thinks about her brother's tuition, she knows that even though she doesn't want to do this, she needs to, and thus comes one of the most popular lines from this movie.
I'm in a bind, Nate.
Ciao. And of course, Nasty Nate gets what he wants, and Stoney is understandably grossed out and regretful. Ain't enough soap in the world to wash off that regret. But anyway, we go back to the girls at work. It's Frankie's first day, and she's struggling. Stoney is in her feelings, so Cleo tries to lighten the mood.
This is an ugly ass baby. Yo, white people be having some old waterhead, crying ass ugly baby.
Stoney!
It doesn't work because Frankie is not having it with this new job.
Can you stand the smell of this garbage?
Girl, shit ain't that bad.
It ain't that bad.
After their shift, the girls decide to de-stress with some good old reefer. And wonder if Viva could look at it like that. And while Cleo is cracking on Stoney's high ass, the joke quickly turns around on her.
Every time we get high, you start looking like Sugar Bear.
For real. Fuck all y'all.
Then they start talking about how the factory that's behind Stoney's house used to pay $15 an hour and how they would have loved to work there.
Nigga, for $15 an hour, I'll be old 4-ply radio. What I gotta do, sir ass motherfucker?
Y'all, they was really out here thriving off of $15 an hour in the 90s. But anyway, they continue to dream about how much better their lives would be if they were making that kind of money. This is when Frankie comes up with a not so bright idea.
Only way we're gonna see cash is we take a bank.
Now see, I'm with that shit.
Stoney tells Frankie that she might as well not talk about it if she not gonna be about it. They have a short little standoff till Stoney folds and makes Frankie laugh. Little did she know that Frankie was very serious. Oh, but then, child, we go back to Stoney and her brother. Stoney surprises him with a check for his tuition. But then, it turns out that he has a surprise for her. His low-down ass didn't even get into UCLA and is just now telling her. Baby, Stoney goes smooth off, as she should.
You didn't get in.
Come on, Stoney, don't go off on me now.
Don't you tell me not to go off on you. Do you have any idea what I had to go through? Do you?
He tries to walk away, but baby, the way I would have dragged him. And then her silly self tears up the check. Baby, what you doing? You earned that money. Girl, but anyway, we follow her brother as he goes over his boy's house, who just happens to be one of the guys that robbed the bank in the beginning of the film. Look at Miss Natalie DeSalle. I can't believe she's gone, y'all. She was so fly here. After Stevie compliments Lorenz's haircut, Lorenz demands that he gets the same done to his head, even though he ain't even from Acorn. I'm thinking he did this on purpose. I don't think it was to set him up specifically, but to make it harder for the police to find the true culprit. But later, Stevie leaves out, and of course, the police is waiting on him. Poor guy doesn't know what's going on. He's quickly surrounded, and as he's on the ground, he pulls a fatal move by raising his hand, and of course, the police think he has a gun, and they shoot first and ask questions later. And we all know how this ends. So later, Stoney shows up at the crime scene. She's devastated. Her brother is gone, and they didn't even get a chance to apologize to each other. It's an unfortunate situation. And then this fool comes up to her like he didn't play a part in all of this.
If you need to talk, if you have any questions, you won't hesitate to call. There'll be a full investigation.
All right.
So after, the girls are discussing robbing the bank again, but this time, everyone is truly considering it. Well, everyone but TT, which makes sense because she's the only one now that truly has something to lose, and Frankie decides to give her a little motivation.
We just taken away from the system that's fucking us all anyway.
And surprisingly, Stoney is with it.
Let's do it.
So the next day, they decide to case the bank. Stoney and TT going to check out the inside while Cleo and Frankie stay outside. So as they're walking around all awkwardly, this fine-ass bank manager, who we are going to refer to as Sexy Chocolate, walks up to Stoney and asks her if she needs some help. Baby, Blair Underwood was at his peak right here. My God. So as he struggles to tell her about what the bank offers, he decides to drop the facade and get right to the point.
Actually, Miss Dorsey, I'm a manager in corporate banking upstairs. I don't know what these folks do down here, but when I saw you, I said to myself, I said, Self, a woman that fine as you are, and you are that fine, needs...
As TT is not so nonchalantly alerting her that it's time to go, he asks her for her phone number. She declines, but asks for his. Too cute. We then go back to the girls at work, and TT has brought her son to work since she can no longer afford a babysitter. And of course, the little baby does what little babies do, and he crawls off and gets into something he shouldn't have, and it doesn't turn out too good for him. We then fast forward to the girls at the hospital. Turns out the baby will be just fine, but now CPS wants to see what's going on and determine if TT is a fit mother, and the girls are not here for this.
I know you ain't fitting to take her son.
Wait now, hold the fuck up. That was an accident. I mean, we was right there. We was looking right at him.
I need to talk to the mother.
Child, this next scene breaks my heart. So basically, the CPS lady explains to her that being that TT brought her child to work with her, they see this as neglect. And in order to get her child back, she would have to prove that she can pay for childcare. But that was the entire reason she brought him to work with her. Like, would they have rather her keep the baby at home by himself? And where was the child's father? This was a messed up situation all the way around, and this aids in TT coming around to the bank robbery idea because now she needs that money more than ever.
Fuck this shit. You know what you got to do. You in?
And I hate how there was no consoling her at all. They just went straight to pushing her to be a part of the robbery. But anyway, the girls get to planning their robbery, discussing plans and such, but Cleo ain't trying to hear none of it. She just trying to get straight to the money.
All right, let's go through plan B.
Plan B? The fuck this planning shit? Why can't we just get buck with these motherfuckers and go up in there and take all the fucking money?
Why can't you just listen?
Child, poor Frankie. She is struggling to keep Cleo engaged, and Stoney is getting annoyed.
When Cleo goes to the merchant teller, you start to survey the line for the cow.
Cow? There's gonna be a cow up in there?
Stop smoking weed.
We then follow the girls to the gun range where they are doing a little target practice. Clearly, Frankie and Cleo are loving this shit. TT, not so much. Child, they just shooting just to shoot. So Cleo asks to speak with Black Sam. She ends up sitting with him and asking for a favor. The girls need some firepower for what they're trying to do, and Black Sam tries to be generous, but what he trying to give them ain't gonna work.
All right, check it out. Y'all can roll with that right there.
Yo, we ain't robbing stagecoaches. I need something I can set it off with.
So Cleo suggests that he give them something more heavy duty as a favor, and they will pay him back with interest. Black Sam is considering it, but he asks for something extra on the deal by suggesting that Cleo hook him up with Frankie. And of course, it's a no-go.
Check this. What's up with hooking me up with your homegirl, Frankie?
Interest. That's it, Sam.
Eventually, even without Frankie, Black Sam agrees to help them out under the condition that if they get caught, they ain't ever heard of them and they are on their own. So we fast forward to the moment the girls have been preparing for. It's time to rob their first bank, and of course, Cleo is in charge of getting the getaway whip. I'm glad she had enough sense to have gloves on, because she threw out all of this person's CDs. Guess they didn't match her vibe.
What we got here? Bullshit. 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 Yeah. Now that's what I ride to.
And then we go to these underprepared and blatantly obvious women, all up in the walkway putting on their disguises. Like, what the hell? I mean, is y'all doing this or is y'all doing this? I mean, really. And as TT and Stoney express their fear and uncertainty about what they're about to do, Frankie decides to start the show, and baby TT was out of there. So Stoney, Frankie, and Cleo rob this bank, and while they're nervously flustering their way through, they were able to rob this bank in less than a minute, and TT was able to see them get away from across the street. So later on, the girls are at Cleo's, and they are a mixed ball of emotions. Cleo is ecstatic, Stoney is in disbelief, and Frankie is hyped. TT finally makes her way back to them and nearly scares them to death as she comes in, but even this doesn't kill Cleo's vibe.
Woo! Woo!
Worked it.
The girls learn that they have gotten 12 G's from this bank robbery. Again, for the 90s, that was a lot, but when you're splitting it 4 different ways though, not so much. And as the girls are counting the rest of the money, Cleo's excitement gets the best of her.
Cleo! Sit.
After the money's all counted, Stoney starts to split the money. And Stoney tries to give TT her part, but Frankie is not with it and quickly snatches it back.
TT? She ain't getting a cut.
Look, Frank, I ain't for your shit tonight, all right? TT needs it more than any of us.
The girls go back and forth with Frankie, and finally TT decides to stand up for herself and stand up to Frankie.
Frankie, I don't want your money. Now, if you want to kick my ass, then come on, let's just get it over with, because I am sick of your shit.
Frankie eventually stands down, checks herself, and apologizes to TT and proceeds to give her her cut. All the girls know that TT needs her cut more than all of them combined. But yet and still, one thing remains true.
Still ain't do shit.
And while this is happening, the same detectives from the Darnell and Loren situation are looking over the bank footage from the robbery and trying to figure out who could be the suspects. We fast forward to Stoney going over to Sexy Chocolate's house. This man. And the waves. So 90s, gotta love it. So of course, they're going on their first date. Their back and forth banter is so cute.
I don't know. I was thinking maybe you could show me someplace in your hood.
To my hood.
Your hood, yes.
Stoney ends up taking him to a restaurant that she had never been to before but heard good things about. They start talking about where he went to school, which is Howard, and he asks her if she's been. It becomes really clear that Stoney has never left LA, and she's a bit ignorant to what's out there in the world for her. With her parents passing away and her having to look after her brother, I don't think she ever had the opportunity to even dream about leaving LA, which is sad. But despite Sexy Chocolate picking up on her hard exterior, he's willing to get to know her, and he makes his intentions clear.
Stoney, I don't want anything from you. I really don't. I am quite content just listening to you.
So after their date, they go back to his home to talk some more, and he shows her his place.
Do you feel free?
Hell yeah, I feel free.
I don't feel free. I feel very much caged.
During their conversation, Sexy Chocolate drops some jewels for Stoney. He insists that she can change her current situation and that she should start making future plans for herself. This is when Stoney drops some information that proves that that's easier said than done.
Well, I worked really hard to keep a roof over me and my brother's head, to keep clothes on our back, and I planned on sending him to college.
That's great. Then he should go to college.
He's dead.
It's crazy how these two even ended up on a date because they are total opposites. However, he's going to be the push she needs to think and move differently. We then go back to the detectives who are still looking over the bank footage, and as they zoom in on Stoney's face, it's then that one of the detectives recognizes her. When he runs out to discuss this with his boss doesn't want to hear it since they are still in hot water for killing an innocent man.
Do you remember the headline? Innocent student killed by cops?
Of course, sir.
No way!
Can I get a tail on her, sir?
What part of no don't you understand, Strode? The N or the O?
Child, that money was hot in Cleo's hands, baby. She couldn't wait to finally fix up that bucket. And her and her girlfriend are living it up, getting all sensual when the girls come through without knocking and interrupt their session. So basically, Cleo has not gone to work since she robbed the bank, and she's basically blown all her money and making it real obvious what she's done. The girls are trying their best to lead her into the light and convince her to come back to work, but Cleo ain't trying to hear none of that.
We gotta act like nothing's different. All right, now you need to get to Luther's and get your job back.
Man, Luther can kiss my ashy kneecap.
So it's Stoney's reminding Cleo that the whole purpose of robbing the bank was to get out of LA. Frankie reminds Stoney that she ain't getting far on $3,000, and if she's trying to leave and stay out of LA, they're going to need to rob another bank. But of course, Stoney doesn't want any parts, and hot-headed Cleo decides to try to force her hand.
Fuck you! I know you ain't finna back down on us now that we need you. You need to get that gun off my face.
Baby, she fell out like she gave her a one-hitter quitter. But yeah, it's safe to say that Cleo and Stoney are no longer cool and they have a falling out behind this. So later, Stoney goes over to Sexy Chocolate's house again and he's cooking for her. He instantly notices her body language and he knows that something's wrong. So she tells him how she thinks she's going to lose one of her best friends over money, and he gives her sound advice.
Don't you lose that friend over money. It's not worth it. Money, you can replace. Easy. Friends, real friends, you can't.
His good advice lightens the mood, and the flirty banter starts back up between the two.
I'll be your genie if you let me. Your every wish is my command.
So we go back to TT, Frankie, and Cleo, and they are trying to convince Cleo to apologize to Stoney. And Cleo is being stubborn.
Fuck her! Fuck Stoney! Do this without her.
Frankie then reminds her that she did pull a gun on her, and if she did the same thing to her, she would have slapped her too. Cleo then tries to get TT on board with robbing a bank without Stoney, but it's a no-go.
So TT, what's my girl gonna do? So you gotta step to that judge and prove you got some coins in the bank.
I ain't doing that without Stoney.
They go to pick up Stoney to do their shift at Luther's, and unbeknownst to them, they are being watched by the detective, and he's onto them.
Did I or did I not say all these women run together? Do you feel me? I thought that you would. Work with me, baby.
So later, while the girls are at work, Cleo and Stoney finally talk.
Look, I'm sorry. You're sorry. Let's just put it all behind us.
Apology accepted.
I wouldn't be apologizing to her first. I know that much. But anyway, Cleo quickly tries to convince Stoney yet again to rob another bank with them since she knows that they all don't have enough to last them. Stoney then says that she doesn't want to have to keep robbing banks to get money, that she's really not all in with this new lifestyle. And Cleo agrees that Stoney is above this, but also acknowledges that everyone else is hood rats, and they've grown accustomed to this lifestyle. Still, Stoney offers Cleo an alternative point of view.
We gotta have a plan. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
I don't know. And I don't care. I'm just trying to get through the day.
Again, you see a bit of Sexy Chocolate's influence on her and how she tries to spread that to her girls. But Cleo is stubborn and doesn't see or want to see another way of life being possible for her. And while they're having a heartfelt conversation, Luther shows up.
I know you didn't come to work. Ain't been to work and don't call nobody.
I'm broke, Luther. Now shut up before I stick that bop up your ass, Luther.
You better save that for your little girlfriend.
And then we go to this scene. Do these ladies ever really work? But yeah, they plan out their next robbery. This scene also reminds me of the intro on Destiny's Child's The Writings on the Wall album. I know that's random, but it does.
Cleo Menza, no more funny looking underwear for your little girlfriend.
Cleo Menza, no more fancy cars, shopping sprees.
See, she should have committed. She was killing it. But next stop is Balboa Savings and Loan, and everyone agrees. So we fast forward to the day of the robbery. Cleo is getting another getaway whip, and again, thank God she has gloves on because she does her signature throwing away of CDs. Y'all, we really used to ride around with a bunch of CDs in our cars. What a time. Anyway, this whip doesn't have anything worth listening to, and Cleo makes a demand.
Hey, pass me a tape.
No, let's go.
Come on, I ain't going nowhere till you pass me a tape.
Take that shit, let's go.
I hope she had enough sense to take that tape back out after. Evidence and fingerprints galore. So they pull up to the bank, and it's already some commotion going on outside with this homeless guy and a security officer. But they go in and start the show. I mean, didn't waste no time. And TT has chosen to be a part of the robbery this time, but she's playing her part a little too well.
Please. Oh, please, Mama. Bitch. Oh, just shut the fuck up. Nobody move.
Meanwhile, outside, the cops have pulled up to deal with the homeless guy as Cleo hunts for another vehicle. And the girls are still trying to get all the money they can. When one of the hostages tries to become a hero, TT swiftly shuts that down and makes her position known. We then go back to Cleo, who has found a whip and a victim. Meanwhile, the girls are panicking because they just realized that there are a bunch of cops outside and Cleo is nowhere to be found yet.
It's Cleo.
And why were they so slow to get in? And baby, RIP to this guy's back. And the scene where they come out of the bank is so good. And baby, they made bank. Nearly $75,000 a piece. And random thought, I know Cleo's place is supposed to be an old firehouse, but it's kind of lit. I would expect it to be a really expensive place to live. Too expensive for a salary from Luther to cover, if you know what I mean. But the girls make a plan to leave in 3 days. This gives them enough time to be there for TT's hearing. One thing I never thought about was the fact that if TT showed up with all of this money, weren't they gonna want to source it? Like, why you got all this money now, but yet you were working for the same company and you didn't have it a week ago? Like, ain't that suspicious? But TT is excited.
I got money.
We then go back to the girls at work, and it's here where they make the dumbest decision yet. They hide the money at the building. They are cleaning in one of the vents. And they didn't even hide it deep enough for me. They should have pushed it back into the corner a little bit more. Child. So anyway, we go back to Cleo's where Stoney is on the phone with Sexy Chocolate, and he's inviting her to a cocktail party. While he's doing that, Cleo is straight terrorizing her girlfriend. I think that's the only time we heard her voice. But anyway, Stoney agrees to go to the cocktail party. She shows up to Sexy Chocolate's house looking like an entire box of crayons. And baby, the look on his face.
Do you like it?
Yeah, you look great.
He swiftly takes Stoney on a mini shopping spree to get her another outfit for this cocktail party. And baby, she comes out the limo looking good, okay? She's gulping champagne, throwing it in shrubbery, talking to his colleagues. It's a good time. So during the night, her and Sexy Chocolate are talking, and she confides in him about wanting to run away but being unable to. He suggests that she doesn't have to, and she can stay with him until she decides what she truly wants to do. They are so cute together, y'all. And of course, it's sexy time. And baby, Sexy Chocolate understood the motherfucking assignment. And this is where things get interesting. The girls show up for work that same night to find that they have a new boss.
Where's Luther?
He ain't cleaning this building no more. He got out of the business.
Oh.
It took a while for TT to catch what was going down, and y'all probably guessed it, the money is gone, and they don't have to wonder too hard about who has it. So they pay a visit to Black Sam and let him know that Luther has stolen the money and his interest.
We got twisted, man. Our money and your interest.
Oh. See, now you fucking with my money, though.
So we go to Luther, who has found the first prostitute that he could find, and he's holed up at this hotel. All that money, and this is what you choose to do. I can't. So the girls find him and bust through his door, and baby Luther was too deep up in it to hear them.
Climb out the pussy for me, Luther.
Baby Luther has bought watches, Cristal, got a fresh perm, just out here living it up. And while they are yelling at Luther to fess up and tell them where their money is, Luther gets a gun from up under his pillow and points it at Cleo. But this is when TT decides to take one for the team and takes out Luther. Cleo then gets the prostitute's ID and demands that she not tell anyone what she saw or else, and keeps her ID for insurance. So we go back to Stoney and Sexy Chocolate, and it's the morning after. Baby, I would have never left, you hear me? He would have been home from here on out. But she heads out and she gets emotional because she really likes him, but she knows she's leaving for good. We then go to Cleo and her girlfriend who are walking down the street when one of the detectives meets them on the sidewalk. He instantly starts asking her about Luther and who killed him, and Cleo does not want to participate in this conversation.
Which one of you girls smoked Luther? Huh? I'm thinking it was you, Cleo, because you're the only one with any priors.
Man, I ain't do shit. You ain't got probable cause for shit.
Child, they end up taking her in for questioning and letting her in on the fact that there is a witness, and we all know who that witness could be. So we go to the police station where the same prostitute that was there with Luther is trying to identify the suspect, and she is understandably nervous.
You sure they can't see me?
Nah, just your imagination.
Looks like they're looking right at me.
Do you see her?
So Cleo is playing her role. Whole time, she knows who is on the other side of the glass, and she gives her a subtle reminder. And this works in Cleo's favor. So while this is happening, the rest of the girls have gathered at Cleo's and is giving Stoney the rundown about what happened with Luther, and she is stressing. But when Frankie brings up doing another robbery, Stoney wants no parts.
You ain't got no fucking choice. And you don't tell me what fucking choices I have, Frankie.
And then TT gets in her ear about needing to do the robbery, and while she's trying to convince Stoney, Cleo walks back in. From here, Cleo lets them know that the detectives are on their ass, and if they don't get out of LA, they will be in jail by tomorrow morning. She also brings up the fact that they need to rob downtown Federal, the same place that Sexy Chocolate works. And of course, Stoney does not want to do that.
Does it have to be downtown Federal?
What the fuck is that? What, you gonna play us? Over that bumpy at the bank?
They done put her in another bind, for real, over something that she had no parts in. Child, she was busy getting rubbed on and bent over, and now she's facing a murder charge. It's a sad case. We then go to TT visiting her son, and while this scene is sweet, it turns out to be sad in the end. We'll see why in a little bit. The girls then go to get a bite to eat and plan their final robbery in a crowded restaurant of all places. They so sloppy, child. Baby Cleo is consuming coffee like it's water, making TT all nervous, and Frankie tries to rein them in because this time it's serious business. Downtown Federal has never been successfully robbed before, and it's going to be a tough task for the girls. Cleo planned ahead for this and got the girls new masks, of which she pulls out, again, in a crowded restaurant. Child. At least it's better than those damn wigs. But yeah, the check comes for the food, and baby, don't none of they ass got money.
Come on, my shit until I finish robbing this bank.
I'm broke. Look over here. I am too.
We don't have enough money to pay the bill.
Like how? Now none of y'all got it? Now I know Luther hit y'all up, but baby, now none of y'all got $5? A mess. So after they dine and dash, Cleo steals another getaway vehicle and they go off to prepare for the bank robbery. And this time, without gloves, Cleo throws the tapes out the window. We should have known that this robbery was going to get messy. So everyone meets up at Stoney's house to get ready for what they're about to do, and while this is happening, the detectives are at downtown Federal, warning them about the recent bank robberies that the girls have done and letting them know that they may be next on the hit list. As they are showing them past footage of the robberies, Sexy Chocolate recognizes Stoney, and it's safe to say he is shocked. As he's in a state of total disbelief, he is notified that there is a call waiting for him. The call is from Stoney, and she tells him to meet her at the same restaurant she took him to for their first date in 5 minutes. He agrees to meet her, because baby, she got some explaining to do. So as he and the detectives leave out, the girls are heading in and they get straight to it. And from here, things go quick and the girls get right down to business. So while this is happening, Sexy Chocolate makes it to the restaurant and the detectives are notified about the robbery and rush back to the bank. So we go back to the girls, and one thing I never paid attention to was this moment right here.
Don't move! Don't move! Get some more money! No! Don't be greedy, let's go now!
Every second mattered. I feel like if she hadn't gone back for more money, they would have been good as gone. But of course, they did the opposite and they are caught by the detectives. He tries to convince them to stop and think about what they're doing, and he's slowly getting through to them, and they begin to let down their guard. But of course, this trigger-happy security officer comes in, guns a-blazing, and shoots TT. And from this moment, it was on, and the girls lit it up, as they should. They are able to shoot their way out of the bank into the getaway truck, and they're off. Baby, TT ain't gonna make it. They talking about taking her to the hospital, but baby, y'all are wanted women. Like, what y'all gonna do? Dump her and drive off? But anyway, they make it to Cleo's car, and as Stoney's talking to her and trying to keep her spirits up, she passes away in her arms. This will never not be one of the saddest moments in this film, because her son will never see her again, and he's officially in the system for good. But the girls don't get any time to grieve because, baby, the police are on their tails. Just as Sexy Chocolate comes back to the bank to see that he got. The girls are currently running for their lives, trying to get away. They end up going inside a tunnel where a helicopter is waiting on the other side. They quickly realize that they are closing in on them, and Cleo comes up with a plan.
All right, get out, get out! What? Get out!
Cleo convinces them to hold on to the money and that she will divert the cops' attention. Listen, Queen Latifah played the out of this part. Ate, left not a crumb, not a morsel, period. But back to the movie. So Stoney and Frankie get away from the tunnel and they have a quick moment to hug one another before they separate and try to get away. Unfortunately, it will be their last time seeing each other. We then go back to Cleo, who is surrounded from every direction. She stops the car for a second, trying to decide what she's going to do, but she soon realizes it's not looking too good for her. And then this plays. And it was at this moment we knew it was a wrap. Child. All I'm gonna say is Cleo went out like a motherfucking G. I remember seeing this scene for the first time and I cried. I mean, I was sobbing. You would have thought Cleo was my cousin, baby. But anyway, Black Sam realizes his interests may not be coming to him after all. And baby, Stoney was the smartest one because she got straight on the bus. Which makes me wonder, where the hell was Frankie going? They end up catching up to Frankie, and the lead detective tries to talk to her and get through to her, but it's a no-go. Frankie was so angry, and she had every right to be, because they did her dead wrong, and she reminds them too.
So, what's the procedure when you got a gun in your head, huh? What's the fucking procedure when you got a gun in your head?
And of course, again, a trigger-happy cop shoots her, and it's a wrap, leaving Stoney as the lone survivor. And ironically, Stoney so happens to be passing by on a bus as this happens, and the lead detective just so happens to look at her, but he doesn't tell or alert the cops. He just lets her go. At this point, he realizes he's already taken so much and decides to have mercy on her. So we fast forward to Stoney at a hotel in Mexico, and she's thinking about her friends and the times they shared. She has all this money now, but she's alone. She eventually goes to the bathroom to cut her hair, and after she's done, she takes the money and puts it all in a bag along with the dress from Sexy Chocolate and leaves out. She then decides to call Sexy Chocolate to hear his voice one more time and thank him for not telling on her. I really wish things were different for them because he really was a good guy and he wanted the best for her. But in the end, she was able to leave LA for good. She was free now, but it's messed up how that freedom came at a heavy, heavy cost. And that's the end of the movie. And here are my final thoughts. Stoney, Cleo, TT, and Frankie were some sloppy-ass bank robbers. Frankie made a point to say that since she knew how banks run, that she could never be as sloppy as Lorenz and his boys. But I beg to differ. First off, on the first robbery, y'all underprepared asses showed up to the bank and put on y'all disguises in the bank while people were walking out and able to identify y'all. And then Cleo was up here throwing out CDs every time y'all steal a getaway vehicle, more concerned about setting the vibe than leaving behind critical evidence and identifiers. Just a mess. Then for the last robbery, y'all ass showed up to a restaurant with no money, mind you, and I'll get on that later. But you pull out your disguises in a crowded restaurant, discussing plans in a crowded restaurant, and then dine and dash. I can't. And also, y'all would have gotten away with the last robbery if greed didn't take over and Cleo didn't tell TT to go get more money. But now that I've gotten that out of my system, let's discuss each girl's motivation to even attempt to rob a bank in the first place. Let's start with Frankie. Frankie was doing well, as we saw in the beginning, until some people from her neighborhood came in and robbed the bank. Now, while she didn't push the button like she was supposed to, I do believe there were so many factors that played into why she didn't, and she was probably having so many thoughts going on in her mind at the same time as anybody would have. The most important one being that this may fall on me if these people find out that I know of these men. But after the robbery, how they berated her after she barely made it out alive and saw a woman get killed in front of her, they never even asked her if she was okay. They immediately figured that she was in on it and fired her swiftly. I would be angry and bitter too. I don't think it was about the money as much as it was about pure payback and taking back her power for her to consider robbing banks. For Stoney, she had been struggling with taking care of her brother on her own and making sure that he went to college and made something of himself. She even pimped herself out to try to make that happen for him. But when her brother died, she felt like she had nothing and she was in a dark place, as anyone would be. Stoney felt stuck and didn't know how to move past her current state, but she did know that money could help her figure that out. It wasn't until she met Sexy Chocolate that she was able to see a future for herself and begin to think ahead. Robbing banks served as an opportunity to have a brand new life far away from what she had always known. Now, on to TT. TT was a struggling single mother, unable to pay for a babysitter along with everything else that she had on her plate. It's when she's at risk of losing custody of her son that she truly considers robbing banks with the girls. Getting quick money could help her keep custody of her son and provide them with a more stable life where she doesn't have to struggle so much and no longer has to worry about proper care for him while she makes a living. And I hate how they treated TT at times, and it really bugged me how she had to get bucked with Frankie in order for them to respect her. That wasn't cool. But for Cleo, I really think she was just with the shits. She said to herself that she was just a hood rat, and this is the only life that she had known and wanted to know. I wonder what was Cleo's plan for herself and her girlfriend after. Would she have stayed out of trouble or found something else to get into? Ultimately, I think she was down for her girls, and if they was with it, she was willing to do whatever. Oh, let's not gloss over the fact that these girls were stupid with the money. Cleo especially, but I still don't know what the other girls were doing to be completely broke by the last robbery. Now, I know TT probably had lawyer fees and such. I get that, but what was Frankie and Stoney doing? Again, I know Luther hit y'all up, but y'all hid all the money? Didn't even take a little maintenance out? And let's talk about where and how they hid their damn money. Y'all could have done so much better. Y'all couldn't find another place to hide it? Y'all couldn't have pushed it further back from view? And what made Luther look in a vent of all places? I have so many questions. And last but not least, Sexy Chocolate did Stoney a huge favor by not snitching. But let's be real, he would have got caught up like Frankie had if he did. And I wouldn't even blame him if he stopped dating after that. Baby, I would have been done. However, he really was a good guy and wanted the best for Stoney. He introduced her to a new way of thinking, and she really needed that. But yeah, that's it, y'all. As always, I thank you for watching this video. I really enjoyed chatting with you guys on the boomerang video. That was really fun, and we gotta do that more often. So please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time, you guys. Bye!